President Cyril Ramaphosa says nations around the world are looking at G20 for leadership and guidance in tackling a number of pressing global issues. Ramaphosa yesterday officially opened the G20 Foreign Ministers Meeting in Nasrec, south of Johannesburg. Khayelihle Khumalo is on that story. Khayelihle, we had such an interesting conversation with Dr. van Heerden, just giving us some analysis and particularly looking at the US angle of all of this, not only relations with South Africa, but in general its feelings towards G20. And it just was an interesting one. But it would be great to get your perspective of being there and seeing what it's like firsthand. How's it going there, and how was yesterday?
Well, certainly, and quite a very important moment for South Africa, the G20 being held in the African soil. Obviously, everybody's waiting for that culmination in November this year. But the discussions really yesterday were quite fascinating because as much as obviously, these are powerful economies descending into our shores, and there will always be point of differences. There will always be tension at times where there are some areas where they don't see eye to eye. But with President Cyril Ramaphosa as well, really just making a clarion call for the G20 members to find a consensus to all these overlapping crises, whether you're looking at the geopolitical tensions, the tariff war that we have seen in so many parts of the world stemming from the Trump administration, to the issues around climate change. But something that was quite interesting to observe, and obviously no really reason given whatsoever around the photo op, where essentially the leaders, they will gather together and really just play this happy family and really stand in, under one banner. We didn't really see this happening, which was quite interesting to observe. Obviously, a lot of reasons are just being bandied about here. But also what is very important for South Africa is the issue of the emphasis of its priorities. That's for this G20, really for them, it's about making sure that the mobilization of the funds for the just energy transition, as you know, that South Africa is working with a number of Western countries in achieving this. But also something that is very key for South Africa, Leanne, is around debt sustainability, where they do talk about the developing countries, that when it comes to the repayment of the costs are fairly exorbitant. So hence the call for the restructuring or the reforms around the financial architecture. But also something that is key for South Africa is around the beneficiation of the minerals, as opposed to the old colonial pattern where it's about the pit to port, moving from the mines to the ports for the beneficiation to happen right here and so many parts of the world as well. But obviously a lot of interesting issues as well around the United Nations Security Council, all those important reforms. And of course, we do understand there's a backing from the UN chief, Antonio Guterres, but also a very interesting moment for South Africa in terms of the country's prestige and also the clout, where you have the leaders from the World Trade Organization to the Deputy of Secretary General of the United Nations, and also having the foreign affairs ministers from Sergei Lavrov coming from Russia to Wang Yi from China, and so many other foreign ministers right here in South Africa. So obviously it is a last day, a lot is at stake in terms of their expectations and the way forward, as we know that next week is going to be now the 10th of Cape Town.
Khayelihle, looking forward to what comes out of it today. And yes, indeed, the finance ministers meeting in Cape Town next week, another big moment as they gather. So Khayelihle Khumalo on that story as this meeting wraps up today.